Blood pounded in my ears as I stood on the marble steps of the Grand Cascade, keycard trembling between my fingers. My sister Victoria blocked the entrance like a bouncer at an exclusive nightclub, her arms crossed over her designer knockoff dress. Behind the towering glass doors, I could hear my father's thunderous laugh echoing through the sapphire blue lobby, the lobby I designed myself, marble by marble, fixture by fixture. "You cannot be serious right now," Victoria said, her voice dripping with that particular brand of condescension she'd perfected over the years. She smoothed down her burgundy cocktail dress, completely oblivious that I'd seen the original sketches for that exact design 3 weeks ago when my fashion designer friend showed me her upcoming collection over brunch in Soho. "This is the Grand Cascade, Elizabeth. Do you have any idea what the prix menu costs here? More than your entire monthly paycheck, I'd bet." If only she knew I'd created that very menu alongside our James Beard award-winning chef just last month. "He's my father too," I said quietly, surprised by how steady my voice sounded despite the rage building in my chest. The small cream envelope in my Hermès clutch suddenly felt like it weighed 50 pounds. Inside was the deed to a beachfront estate in Malibu, one of the Grand Cascade's most exclusive vacation properties. Properties that people like my sister could only dream of visiting. "My name is Elizabeth. I'm 38 years old, and I'm a hospitality entrepreneur. This is the story of how I finally claimed my rightful place at a table I'd built with my own 2 hands. Mom and Dad were extremely clear about this," Victoria continued, checking her reflection in the polished glass doors. She adjusted her pearl earrings, cultured pearls, not the South Sea pearls she probably told everyone they were. "They only want successful people at this celebration. People who won't humiliate the family with their circumstances." The irony hit me like a freight train. 24 hours ago, I'd signed off on a $200 million expansion of the Grand Cascade portfolio. Today, I was apparently too much of an embarrassment to walk through my own hotel's front entrance. I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing at the absurdity. 10 years ago, when I'd announced I was leaving the family's modest accounting practice to pursue a career in hospitality management, they'd practically held a funeral. My father's words still haunted my dreams: "No daughter of mine is going to waste her education slinging hash browns and making beds for strangers." So I'd let them believe whatever narrative made them comfortable. Let them think I was barely scraping by, managing some chain restaurant in a strip mall somewhere. Meanwhile, I'd quietly built Cascade Luxury Group into one of the most prestigious boutique hotel chains on the eastern seaboard. The girl they called a glorified maid now owned 42 5-star properties across 4 continents. Not bad for a hash slinger. "Elizabeth." My mother's razor-sharp voice cut through my thoughts as she materialized behind Victoria like a perfumed ghost. Her eyes narrowed when she saw me standing there. "What on earth are you doing here? We discussed this situation already." No, they had discussed it. I'd simply received a text message this morning at 6 a.m. "Don't come to your father's 65th birthday dinner. It's at the Grand Cascade. You can't afford it, and we won't have you embarrassing us in front of our friends. Stay home." "I brought a gift," I said simply, holding up the envelope. Victoria's laugh could have shattered crystal. "Oh my God, what is it? A gift certificate to the Cheesecake Factory? Or did you pool your tips together to buy him something from Macy's clearance rack?" My mother's gaze swept over my simple black clutch bag, a handcrafted piece from a small Italian leather artisan that cost more than the used Honda Civic Victoria drove. "Whatever it is, I'm certain Victoria's gift is more appropriate. She just made senior partner at Bennett & Associates, you know. Very prestigious firm." I knew. I knew because Bennett & Associates was currently in desperate negotiations to lease prime office space in the Cascade Tower downtown. Space they needed but absolutely could not afford based on the financial reports my real estate division had sent me yesterday afternoon. Their current lease was expiring in 45 days, and they were scrambling. "Victoria is doing incredibly well," Mom continued, warming to her favorite subject like a preacher at a revival. "Beautiful new townhouse in Brookhaven, that lovely Lexus, and her fiancé Trevor is a rising star at his investment firm. Wonderful prospects." She paused to give me a pitying once-over. "And you, well, at least you're trying your best, sweetheart. That's what matters." I thought about my penthouse apartment overlooking Central Park West. About my collection of vintage Porsches sitting in a climate-controlled garage in Connecticut. About the private Gulfstream I'd flown in on this morning from a property inspection in Aspen. "Yes, Mom. I'm definitely trying. Speaking of trying, Victoria sneered, gesturing at my outfit like I'd shown up in a burlap sack. That dress. Couldn't you have made some effort? This is the Grand Cascade, not some roadside diner. People dress here, Elizabeth. I ran my hand over the black silk Valentino, custom-tailored during a fitting in Paris 6 weeks ago. The same designer who'd politely declined to dress Victoria for her engagement party last month, a rejection that had apparently sent my sister into a 3-day spiral of rage. My stylist had mentioned the incident casually, not realizing the connection. It's the best I could manage, I murmured. Well, regardless, you absolutely cannot come inside, Victoria declared, planting herself more firmly in the doorway. Her 3-inch heels clicked against the marble. We've reserved the entire Sky Terrace level. It's for family and distinguished guests only, people of consequence. The Sky Terrace. My Sky Terrace. The space I'd personally redesigned 18 months ago, right down to the custom chandeliers I'd commissioned from a glassblower in Vermont and the hand-painted murals depicting the 4 seasons. And who exactly counts as distinguished? I asked, genuinely curious about their guest list. Mom waved her hand dismissively. Oh, you wouldn't know any of them, dear. The Cunninghams, they own that enormously successful law practice. The Vandermeer family, old oil money from Texas. And Mr. Rothstein from First National Bank. All very influential people in very important circles. I had to fight to keep my expression neutral. Christopher Cunningham leased 4 of my properties for his satellite offices. The Vandermeers had been practically begging for a membership at my ultra-exclusive resort in the Hamptons for 2 years. And Mr. Rothstein's bank was currently pursuing a major commercial loan for my investment group to cover some questionable mortgage-backed securities they'd gotten themselves tangled up in. Right, I said. Very important people. Exactly. Victoria looked pleased that I understood my place in the social hierarchy. So you see why you simply cannot be here, Elizabeth. Can you imagine what people would think if they discovered Dad's unsuccessful daughter was? I don't know, serving cocktails or bussing tables. The humiliation would be unbearable. Before I could respond, the massive glass doors swung open and Cameron, my head of security and operations, stepped out into the evening air. He'd been with me since I'd purchased my first struggling property 8 years ago, a rundown motor lodge I'd transformed into the flagship location of the Cascade chain. Is everything all right here, Ms. Bennett? His voice carried across the entrance with absolute clarity. Your private table is ready on the Sky Terrace, and Chef Antoine wanted your approval on the amuse-bouche before service begins. The silence that followed could have stopped time itself. Victoria's mouth dropped open so wide I could see her back molars. The designer clutch slipped from her manicured fingers and clattered down 3 marble steps. My mother grabbed the brass door handle, her knuckles going white as she fought to stay upright. Cameron. I smiled warmly at him. Perfect timing. My family was just explaining how I couldn't possibly afford to dine here. Mom. He looked genuinely confused, his brow furrowing. But you own the entire property. You own the whole Cascade portfolio. Yes, I said, turning to face my stunned family. Ido. Shall we go inside? I believe you've reserved the Sky Terrace for Dad's party. My Sky Terrace, technically speaking. My brother-in-law Trevor found his voice first, though it came out as a strangled whisper. This has to be some elaborate prank. You're just a restaurant manager. You barely graduated college. Actually, Cameron interjected with professional precision, Ms. Elizabeth Bennett is the founder and chief executive officer of Cascade Luxury Group. She owns 42 Grand Cascade properties worldwide, along with our resort holdings, restaurant ventures, and commercial real estate portfolio. Victoria's face had gone from flushed to completely ashen. But the Grand Cascade is worth. I read an article in Forbes that said, billions, I finished for her calmly. Which makes your comment about me not affording the prix-fixe menu rather ironic, wouldn't you say? I stepped past them into my hotel's lobby, and it was like watching a choreographed dance. Every staff member immediately straightened, shoulders back, professional smiles appearing on every face. The lobby I designed from scratch gleamed under the custom lighting, soft, warm, welcoming. Good evening, Ms. Bennett, my front desk manager Adriana called out, her voice bright and genuine. We have the executive penthouse suite prepared for your father's birthday weekend, just as you requested.
Thank you, Adriana.
I turned back to my family, still frozen like statues on the steps outside.
Are you coming?
Or would you prefer to continue standing outside my hotel? They followed in absolute silence. As we walked through the lobby, every single employee we passed greeted me by name. Not out of obligation or fear, but with real warmth, the kind of respect you can't fake and certainly can't buy. I'd learned every person's name when I'd purchased this property. I'd worked alongside the housekeeping staff, shadowed the concierge, spent nights in the kitchen learning from the chefs. That's what real leadership looked like. But your clothes, Mom finally managed, her voice barely a whisper. She was staring at my dress like she was seeing it for the first time. You always dress so simply.
We thought.
This is custom Valentino from the Paris atelier, I said casually. I think it ran about 45,000, but honestly, I've stopped checking price tags.
Bad habit, I know.
I guided them toward the private elevator, the one that required a special key I pulled from my clutch.
Unlike Victoria's dress, which is a knockoff.
The real piece from that collection hasn't been released to the public yet. I know because I attended the private runway show in Milan last month. Victoria made a sound like a wounded animal. The elevator doors opened directly into the Sky Terrace penthouse suite, and the party noise hit us like a wave. Conversations, laughter, the gentle clink of champagne flutes. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Manhattan glittered like a jewelry box spilled across black velvet. The room fell silent the moment we entered.
Elizabeth.
My father stood up from his position at the head of the long dining table, his face cycling through confusion, shock, and something that might have been fear.
What are you doing here?
Your mother told me you couldn't, that you weren't able to
afford it.
I finished, walking toward him with measured steps.
Happy 65th birthday, Dad.
I hope you don't mind me crashing the celebration in my own hotel.
Your hotel.
Mr. Rothstein from First National Bank practically leaped from his chair, his face breaking into a relieved smile that looked almost painful.
Ms. Bennett.
I had no idea you were Robert Bennett's daughter. My God, we've been trying to schedule a meeting with you for 6 months about that commercial loan package.
Your assistant keeps telling us your calendar is completely booked. Elizabeth owns the Grand Cascade?
Christopher Cunningham joined the conversation, his eyes wide. Robert, your daughter is the mysterious CEO who's been acquiring premium commercial real estate all over Manhattan. We've been competing for properties with Cascade Group for 3 years and never knew. My father sank back into his chair slowly, like someone had cut his puppet strings.
All the color drained from his ruddy face.
All this time, he whispered. All this time when we thought you were just managing some chain restaurant in Jersey. Your words were glorified hash slinger, I believe, I said quietly. From the day I told you I was leaving Bennett and Associates to pursue hospitality management.
But why didn't you tell us?
My mother's voice cracked, her hand clutching her pearl necklace like a lifeline.
Why would you let us believe you were struggling? We would have. Would have what? I turned to face her fully. Believed in me? Supported my choices?
You didn't believe in me 10 years ago when I actually needed your faith in my abilities. Why would I share my success with people who only measure worth by the size of someone's portfolio?
I paused, letting that sink in.
Though by that particular metric, I suppose I'm worth more than everyone in this room combined. Conservative estimates put my net worth at about $3.2 billion.
The number hung in the air like smoke.
Victoria collapsed into the nearest chair, her whole body trembling.
That resort in the Hamptons, she whispered. The Cascade Estate. I've been on the wait list for a membership for 2 years.
The one that's mysteriously always at capacity.
Mine, I confirmed.
My property manager forwarded me your application, actually. Didn't realize the family connection until I saw your maiden name on the form. I turned to Trevor, who'd gone so pale I worried he might actually faint. Just like the Cascade Tower downtown, Trevor. The building your investment firm can't quite afford to lease. And the exclusive ski resort in Aspen you've been trying to book for your bachelor party, Victoria.
All mine. Elizabeth. My father's voice shook.
He stood up slowly, aging 20 years in 20 seconds.
I don't. I can't.
Save it. I held up my hand, surprising myself with how calm I felt. I didn't reveal this to hurt you, though God knows you've hurt me plenty over the years. I did it because I'm exhausted from hiding my success to protect your pride. I'm tired of pretending to be less than I am so you can feel comfortable. I turned to address the entire room, all these important people in their expensive clothes drinking expensive wine in my expensive hotel. Please everyone, continue enjoying the party. Everything is complimentary this evening. My gift to my father. My house, after all. I started walking toward the terrace exit, then paused. The envelope felt heavy in my hand. Oh, and Dad? That gift Victoria wouldn't let me present earlier? It's the deed to a 5-bedroom oceanfront estate in Malibu. One of my most exclusive properties, valued at about $18 million. Consider it a birthday present from your disappointing failure of a daughter. I set the envelope on the table and walked away. The next 90 minutes were absolutely surreal, like watching a play where everyone suddenly realized they'd been reading from the wrong script the entire time. Mrs. Vandermeer cornered me by the champagne fountain, practically vibrating with desperation. Ms. Bennett, about that Hamptons membership. I know there's a wait list, but perhaps we could discuss a priority placement? We're hosting a charity gala in August and I'll have my membership director reach out, I said politely, though we both knew that conversation would never happen. Mr. Rothstein appeared next, his previous jovial demeanor replaced with barely concealed panic. The loan package we discussed. Perhaps we could schedule that meeting? Our board is very interested in partnering with Cascade Group on several projects. Have your people send the details to my office. We'll review them. Translation: Your predatory lending practices are about to be scrutinized by people who actually know what they're looking at. Christopher Cunningham hovered nearby, clearly waiting his turn. The lease negotiations for Cascade Tower. We're prepared to meet your terms, whatever they may be. My real estate division handles all commercial leases, I replied smoothly. I'm sure they'll be in touch. They wouldn't be. Bennett and Associates had played hardball for months, threatening to walk away from negotiations while secretly drowning in debt. I'd let them drown. Through it all, my family sat clustered around Dad's birthday cake like survivors of a shipwreck. Victoria stared into space, her mascara starting to run. Trevor made hushed phone calls in the corner, probably calling his boss to explain why his wife's connections weren't going to pan out after all. My mother dabbed at her eyes with an embroidered handkerchief, alternating between tears and desperate attempts to rewrite history for any guest within earshot. I always knew Elizabeth had potential, I heard her tell Mrs. Vandermeer. Even as a little girl, she was so determined, so driven. I used to tell Robert, that daughter of ours is going places. I just had a feeling, you know. It took everything in me not to laugh. Around 10 p.m., I watched Trevor's face go from pale to green as he stared at his phone. He stood up abruptly, nearly knocking over his chair, and disappeared toward the elevators without a word to Victoria. She looked around frantically, clearly confused, before hurrying after him. I knew what that phone call was. News about the acquisition. My team had closed the deal on his investment firm 3 hours ago. By Monday morning, Trevor would be reporting to Cascade Financial Group, specifically to me. His guaranteed junior partnership? Gone. His corner office? Gone. His credibility with Victoria's social climbing friends? Absolutely gone. Cameron appeared at my elbow discreetly. Ma'am, the acquisition paperwork has been finalized. Mr. Hayes's employment contract includes a standard 90-day review period. His compensation package has been adjusted to market rates. Thank you, Cameron. Make sure HR schedules him for new employee orientation on Monday. The full day-long version. His lips twitched. The one with the 3-hour ethics and compliance module? That's the one. As midnight approached, the party began to disperse. Guests made their exits with profuse thanks and thinly veiled requests for future business considerations. The Cunninghams, the Rothsteins, the Vandermeers, all of them suddenly understanding that the quiet woman in the corner had more power than they'd ever imagined. I found my father alone on the outdoor terrace, staring at the Manhattan skyline like it held answers to questions he didn't know how to ask. The spring air was cool, carrying the distant sounds of traffic and life from the streets below. Those buildings, he said quietly, pointing to the illuminated towers in the distance.
How many do you own? Enough.
I joined him at the railing, keeping a careful distance between us. Including the building that houses Bennett and Associates.
You've been my tenants for 6 years.
He nodded slowly, his shoulders sagging. I was wrong about you, Elizabeth.
So catastrophically wrong. Yes, I agreed. You were.
When you told us you wanted to leave the firm, I thought. He trailed off, his voice breaking. I thought you were throwing away your education.
Your future.
I thought you'd end up struggling, barely making ends meet, and you'd come back to us begging for help. And when I didn't come back begging, you decided I must be too proud to admit failure.
I suppose I did.
He turned to face me, and I was startled to see genuine tears in his eyes.
But you didn't fail. You soared.
And I missed all of it because I was too stubborn to see past my own narrow definition of success.
You missed it because you never asked, I corrected gently. In 10 years, Dad, you never once asked about my work. Never asked to visit my job. Never asked if I was happy.
You just assumed I was failing because success in your world only looked one way.
Can you forgive me?
I thought about that question, turning it over in my mind like a smooth stone.
Forgiveness isn't really the issue here. Respect is.
You never respected my choices, my dreams, my capabilities. You only respect success after it's been proven beyond all doubt, after it's been validated by people like the Rothsteins and the Cunninghams.
That's not. It is, though. I cut him off, not unkindly. And now?
Now you can tell everyone at the country club that your daughter owns the Grand Cascade. That should give you plenty of material for impressive dinner party conversations.
Silence stretched between us like a chasm. What happens now? He asked finally. Now? Tomorrow the family dynamic shifts.
Victoria loses her status as the golden child. Mom rewrites history to claim she always believed in me. Trevor loses his job. Well, technically he still has a job, but not the one he expected. And you all learn that actions have consequences.
Elizabeth, please.
The lease on your office space expires in 3 months, I continued, my voice steady and professional. My property management team will be reaching out with renewal terms. Fair market rate, same as any tenant. No family discount, but no penalty either.
What you do with that is your choice. His face crumbled. You'd evict your own father?
I'd treat you like any other tenant who's consistently late on rent and complained about every minor maintenance issue for 6 years.
I softened slightly. Dad, I'm not trying to punish you. I'm trying to establish boundaries.
Healthy relationships require mutual respect, and respect has to go both ways.
I understand, he whispered, though I wasn't sure he did.
The gift I brought, the Malibu property, that's real.
It's yours if you want it.
5 bedrooms, ocean views, completely private.
You could retire there. Take Mom.
Start fresh somewhere without all the expectations and comparisons and social climbing.
Why would you give me that after everything?
Because you're still my father, I said simply. And despite everything, some part of me still wants you to be proud of me, the real me, not the successful CEO version that impresses your friends. We stood there together in the Manhattan night, 2 people who shared blood and history but very little understanding. Below us, the city pulsed with life, millions of people pursuing their own dreams, fighting their own battles, building their own empires.
Your mother and I, he started, then stopped. We thought we were protecting you, pushing you toward stability and security.
We grew up with so little, Elizabeth.
The idea of you taking risks, chasing something uncertain, terrified you, I finished. I know.
But you never gave me the chance to prove I could handle it.
You never believed in my ability to create my own stability. I see that now. Do you?
Or do you just see the success and wish you'd been part of it?
He didn't answer, which was answer enough.
I left him on the terrace and made my way to my private office on the 42nd floor, the floor that didn't appear on any guest directory, accessible only by a separate elevator with biometric security. The office was exactly as I'd left it that morning. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. The custom mahogany desk I'd had built by a craftsman in Vermont. Photos of properties I'd acquired, renovated, transformed. Not a single family photo among them. My laptop chimed with notifications. The acquisition of Trevor's firm had finalized. Property reports from Tokyo, London, and Dubai. A request from my charitable foundation about a new scholarship program for hospitality students from low-income families. This was my real life. Not the drama downstairs, not the family chaos, but this, building something meaningful, creating opportunities, crafting experiences that brought joy to thousands of people every single day. My phone buzzed. A text from Cameron, Sky Terrace cleared. All guests departed. Your family has retired to their complimentary suites. Tomorrow's breakfast meeting with the Tokyo investors is confirmed for 9 a.m. I typed back, thank you. Make sure my family's checkout is smooth tomorrow. No charges for their stay. Even now, I couldn't help but take care of them. Another text, this one from Victoria, we need to talk. Please. I stared at those 4 words for a long moment, then set my phone face down on the desk. Tomorrow. Maybe. Or maybe not. Some bridges, once burned, weren't meant to be rebuilt. The city glittered outside my windows like a promise. 10 years ago, I'd walked away from the safety of family approval to chase an uncertain dream. I'd been terrified, broke, and completely alone. I'd slept on a futon in a studio apartment, worked 80-hour weeks, eaten ramen for dinner more times than I could count. But I'd been free. Free to fail, free to succeed, free to build something entirely my own. And I had. Against every expectation, every doubt, every condescending comment about glorified hash slingers. I'd built an empire. Tomorrow, my family would wake up in the Grand Cascades luxury suites, suites I provided, amenities I curated, comfort I created. They'd order breakfast from menus I designed. They'd be attended by staff I trained. They'd walk through lobbies I conceptualized. Every single detail would be a reminder. Victoria would return to her townhouse in Brookhaven and her crumbling engagement. My mother would go back to her bridge club and her charity committees, armed with new bragging rights she hadn't earned. My father would return to his struggling accounting firm in a building I owned, signing a lease I controlled. And Trevor? Trevor would report to Cascade Financial Group on Monday morning for new employee orientation, where he'd learn that mediocrity masked by connections wouldn't fly in my organization. Perform or leave. Those were the only options. But me? I'd continue building. Continue growing. Continue proving that success defined on your own terms was the only success worth having. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Victoria, I'm sorry. For everything. Please give me a chance to explain. I picked up the phone, typed out a response, not tonight. Maybe not ever. Some things can't be fixed with an apology. Then I deleted it. Typed again, tomorrow. Coffee. 7 a.m. in the lobby. Don't be late. Small steps. Tentative bridge. Not forgiveness, exactly, but perhaps the beginning of something new. A relationship built on truth rather than assumptions. On respect rather than hierarchy. Or maybe it would crash and burn spectacularly. Either way, I'd survive. I always had. The Manhattan skyline stretched before me, 1,000 points of light in the darkness. Somewhere out there were hundreds more properties I'd acquire, thousands more experiences I'd create, millions more lives I'd touch through the empire I'd built. This wasn't the ending of anything. It was just another beginning. I'd walked away from my family's table 10 years ago and built my own, a bigger table, a better table, a table with room for people who valued ambition and creativity and courage. Tonight, I'd finally made them see it. Made them understand that the daughter they'd dismissed had become someone far more powerful than they'd ever imagined. And that was worth more than any amount of belated family approval. I powered down my laptop, locked my office, and took the private elevator down to the lobby. The night staff greeted me with genuine warmth as I walked through my hotel, my empire, my legacy. Good night, Ms. Bennett, Adriana called from the front desk. Good night, Adriana. Excellent work tonight. It was our pleasure, ma'am. Outside, my driver waited with the Bentley. Tomorrow I'd fly to Tokyo for property inspections. Next week, Dubai. The month after, a new acquisition in Barcelona. The world was full of possibilities, and I'd built the freedom to explore every single one. I settled into the leather seats, smiled at the city lights flashing past the windows, and thought about the girl I'd been 10 years ago, terrified, uncertain, desperate for approval.
She'd be so proud of the woman I'd become.